doors that were shut tight against us are now open. So, long term, I remain optimistic.
An American icon.
Of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Who paved the way through our nation's legal system, a lawyer, a justice, a women's rights advocate.
I hesitate every time I say gender-based discrimination.
Tonight, a profoundly momentous night for our country as we remember the life and legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
She opened so many doors to so many people and did so much.
Tonight, Coloradans are in mourning.
She's just remarkable, and the loss of the country is huge.
Local lawmakers are reacting, and the president is already planning his next move as the Supreme Court seat opens up less than 7 weeks until Election Day.
Our complete coverage on this solemn evening starts right now.
And tonight, thousands of people in our nation's capital have gathered outside the Supreme Court building to pay their respects to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a legal powerhouse who died today at the age of 87.
According to the Supreme Court spokeswoman, Justice Ginsburg died this evening, surrounded by her family at her home in Washington, D.C., due to complications of metastatic pancreatic cancer.
Governor Jared Polis has ordered all flags lowered to have staff immediately to honor her passing. Flags have already been lowered outside the United States Capitol.
We start our coverage tonight with ABC's Karen Travers, who has a look back at Ruth Bader Ginsburg's impact on this country.
She was just the second woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg's true legacy may be as the legal architect of the equal rights movement. She graduated at the top of her class at Columbia Law School. Her career began in the 1950s when sexual and racial discrimination was a fact of life.
Not a law firm in the entire city of New York bid for my employment as a lawyer.
Eventually, she was hired by the American Civil Liberties Union. There, she would help lead a movement that changed the nation, challenging laws that treated men and women differently in employment, housing, and government benefits. She was appointed to the High Court by President Clinton in 1993.
In her pioneering work in behalf of the women of this country, she has compiled a truly historic record of achievement.
As a Supreme Court justice, she was best known for the far-reaching decision that struck down the Virginia Military Institute's men-only admission policy.
Those doors that were shut tight against us are now open. So, long term, I remain optimistic.
Justice Ginsburg was known as a judicial workhorse. She worked throughout her treatment for cancer in 1999 and again 10 years later. In January 2019, her recovery from surgery to remove cancerous lesions from her lung forced her to miss oral arguments, but she continued working from home. Ginsburg became something of a pop culture icon late in her life. This comedic but still reverent impression of her on Saturday Night Live.
I'm never gonna step down now. You can't get rid of me.
A documentary titled RBG, after a nickname given to her by fans, and the 2018 film On the Basis of Sex, focusing on her push for equal rights. On social issues like civil rights, abortion, and separation of church and state, she was a consistent liberal, yet she won the admiration of many conservatives for her grasp of the law and carefully considered opinions. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Reaction is pouring in from across the nation and from Colorado. On Twitter, Governor Polis said today, Coloradans and our nation mourn the loss of a titan. He says, we have lost a fearless advocate for women and families, and someone who never stopped working toward greater equality for all in the eyes of the law.
And Denver Mayor Michael Hancock calls Ginsburg a trailblazer, a champion for justice, a brilliant legal mind, and a legend. And Colorado's Attorney General Phil Weiser, who served as a law clerk for Justice Ginsburg, says, Justice Ginsburg changed my life, teaching me about equal justice under the law and what outstanding legal work looks like. For millions around the world, her memory will continue to be a blessing.
Colorado Congresswoman Diana DeGette called Ginsburg a hero, saying her dedication to advancing women's rights and equality for all was unrivaled, and her presence on the highest court in our land will be deeply missed. Colorado Republican Senator Cory Gardner says he's praying for the Ginsburg family. He writes tonight, thank you for your service to our country and our nation's highest court. Our nation mourns the loss of a trailblazing leader.
And President Trump just released a statement saying today our nation mourns the loss of a titan of the law, adding her opinions, including well-known decisions regarding the legal equality of women and the disabled, have inspired all Americans.
And presidential nominee Joe Biden spoke to reporters just in the last couple of hours.
She practiced the highest American ideals as a justice, equality and justice under the law. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg stood for all of us.
And we want to go back out to that picture in our nation's capital, actually at the Supreme Court building, where the crowd is growing. Denver 7 reporter Joe St. George is there.
Powerful and emotional scene on the steps of the United States Supreme Court tonight as the nation begins to remember the life of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Thousands of people descending upon the Supreme Court tonight upon hearing the news. Candles burning in her memory, hugs and tears shed by those here.
And here at home, Coloradans also in mourning.
People gathered tonight for a candlelight vigil at Denver's City Park, and Denver 7's Gary Brode is among them. Gary?
Well, dozens showed up here, young, old, men, women, to show their respects to a woman who did so much for so many people. And behind me, you could see the candles still lit, flowers placed next to it, right in front of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. statue here in front of City Park. Now, those we talked to had a range of emotions, really. Some were sad, shocked. Some even were fearful. Now, some worried about who will replace Justice Ginsburg. Now, organizers spoke tonight giving speeches of hope, and women we talked to say they were inspired by Justice Ginsburg, some even getting to meet her in the past. Now, those brief encounters having a lasting impression.
She opened so many doors to so many people and did so much to substantively protect the rights of women and other people in this country that for her to go at a moment where her passing puts all of that at risk scares me.
I'm terrified of what's going to happen to this country because she's such a vital part of this country and for what we stand for, and I'm just afraid we're going to lose some of that.
Justice Ginsburg has earned her place among the ancestors, and now it's our turn as women and as Americans to come together.
And we mentioned the fear of who could replace Justice Ginsburg, where we're now hearing some in the community plan on going to Washington, D.C. to protest, asking President Trump to wait until the election is over. Reporting live here in Denver, Gary Brode, Denver 7.
All right.